How's it, South Africa? I'm Dean Solomon.
And I'm Dietlof Ferreira. Welcome, South Africa, to our first visual event introducing the youth of South Africa. Dean, are you excited?
I'm really excited. I'm especially excited about how we are going to be able to revolutionize politics in South Africa.
I mean, we've never had anything like this before, so it's really a good start, and I'm honestly honored and privileged to be part of this era that Mr. Machaba and the team of ActionSA has created for us. It's really a life-changing game.
I don't know, and to bring us all together and open up, we would like to introduce our chairman, Michael Beaumont.
Good morning. It is a great pleasure to welcome you to this launch of the ActionSA Youth, and thank you for taking the time to join us. ActionSA has resolved that it must be the political home for the youth of South Africa. Young people make up the majority of our country, and yet only a small percentage of the voters roll. This is despite the fact that young people in our country face enormous challenges of 60% unemployment, difficulty in accessing tertiary education, and the implications of our broken criminal justice system. In truth, young people do not participate in politics because politics has failed them in every way. We will change this here today. We are proud to announce a Youth Advisory Council of 16 young South Africans that is diverse, that is strong, and that will work to design and drive our youth agenda going forward. They come from different places in our country. They bring different experiences, different backgrounds, and different skills, and they are here to serve the young people of our country. 3 of these young leaders will serve on our Senate, our highest decision-making body, to ensure that the voice of young people is heard in the plans for ActionSA. You will hear from some of these young leaders today, and in doing so, you will see why we are so proud to launch our youth structure here today. It is time for young people to take their rightful place in our country. It is time for action. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. To everybody who has just joined us, you are tuned into ActionSA page, where we will be introducing our youth structures to you. I'm privileged to be introducing the next speaker, LinkedIn Machaba, who will be touching on issues of unemployment and job opportunities the youth of South Africa is currently faced with.
Amandla! Viva young people of South Africa, viva! Viva! Long live ActionSA, long live! Long live! Viva Ntate Hemen Machaba, viva! Viva! Greetings, Thobela, Avshen Afrika Zonga. To all South Africans, to the media that has joined us here today, but most importantly, to all the forgotten millions of young South Africans, may you please lend me your ears. My name is Lincoln Machaba, a young man crusted and molded by the dusty trails of Bushbuck Ridge, which is a small town along the borderlines of Limpopo and Mpumalanga. A young man raised by a family deeply rooted in love and in hope. It was that very same love and hope that became the foundation that guided our humble yet faith-filled journey to the city of gold, Johannesburg, in search of better life opportunities. We did not have much, but we were inspired to dream, and dream big we did. I was born just 1 year after the historic release of Nelson Mandela. I was too young to have comprehended exactly what was transpiring in our country during those years. But all I remember was that freedom was coming tomorrow. Now, as we all know, in 1994, Nelson Mandela was inaugurated as the first democratically elected president of South Africa. That historic moment represented a new era in our country. But unfortunately, 26 years into South Africa's democracy, the dreams of that promised land remain just that, dreams. And do you want to know who the biggest victims of these unfulfilled promises are? It is us, the millions of young people who are found in slums, townships, and villages across the length and breadth of South Africa, with no sense of a hope for a better tomorrow. Ironically, the name that South African society has chosen to give us is born free. However, we remain puzzled if indeed we were born free. Are we born free if currently almost 60% of us young people are unemployed? Are we born free when at every traffic light you find a young person with a hard-earned university degree standing with a placard and begging for a job? This is not the freedom that we young people bargained for. When this week began, I was a councillor in the city of Johannesburg for a particular political party. I was also the regional youth leader of that party. But I have resigned that job and its income to join ActionSA to fight for us, the youth of South Africa. As young people, we need a political home that is focused on solutions, that doesn't spend its time telling us what we already know over and over again. Youth unemployment and joblessness does not only have negative economic consequences, but brings with it far-reaching social consequences. As an escape, many young people have even resorted to drug and alcohol abuse, to crime, and even prostitution to make ends meet. With all sincerity, I'm not one to blame others or play the victim. But let us be frank, this government has completely failed young people when it comes to the economy. And as young people, we must rally against this government and realize that our economy is not the enemy. The politicians who mismanage our education system, who steal, and who have resulted in 60% youth unemployment, they are the real enemy. But listen to this. We must also, as young people, reject the crazy and radical ideas of the EFF. If you'd like to see where nationalization will take us as a country, just look at how many Zimbabweans cross our borders illegally every day just to escape hunger, cruelty, and hopelessness. And that is the plain truth. We as the youth of ActionSA are saying to our brothers and our sisters across South Africa that hope is not lost and no cry shall go on unheard. Sizolwa until the very end. We are with you. We are for you. We know that South Africa's political system has let you down. We know that greedy and corrupt politicians have made plenty of empty promises to you. But now is not the time to give up on ourselves or on our future. We need a political home that welcomes young people, that listens to young people, and that forms its agenda around solutions that are needed by young people. Within ActionSA, we will fight to keep the door opened that has kept young people out of accessing economic opportunity. And if that door will not be open for us, we will knock it down. Our priority is to ensure that we as ActionSA become the heart, the voice, and the conscience of the youth of South Africa. It is time to unite together as young people and take action. Now is the time to act as one. I thank you.
Hallo, ek is Dietlof Ferreira. Ek is 24 jaar oud en doen tans my klerkskap by een van die groot 4 audit firmas. Dit is vir my 'n groot eer om deel te wees van ActionSA se Youth Advisory Forum. Daar is verskeie redes hoekom ek aangesluit het by ActionSA, maar die hoofrede is hoop. Wanneer ek met my vriende praat oor immigrasie, is die vraag nie of ek gaan nie, maar waar en wanneer ek gaan. Wanneer ons praat oor die land se probleme, is dit meestal net 'n geklaarheid en oplossings het nie plek in die gesprek nie. Die hopeloosheid is tasbaar. ActionSA gee vir my weer hoop. Hoop dat alle Suid-Afrikaners 'n plek het in Suid-Afrika. Hoop dat daar volhoubare oplossings is vir die probleme in ons land. Hoop vir verandering.
Dumela, I'm Hluphi Gafane, ngwanyana wa Dietlof Ferreira. My mother worked really hard to put me through school. Little did she know that all her sacrifices would one day mean her only child becomes a part of the statistics of the unemployed graduates of South Africa. Now, I have joined ActionSA because I have taken it upon myself to make a change. We have sat and watched for far too long as others destroy this country. We have been subjected to a mediocrity of governance, of self-applauding individuals who we used to deem as leaders. It is time for us, the youth, to start taking key decision-making on the betterment of our future. So I'm here. Why don't you? Let's build South Africa, and let's do it together. So let's act as one, so we can be one.
Hi, my name is Mokoena. I'm 26 years of age and currently residing in Pretoria. I found out about Mr. Machaba back when I was still a student at Wits University. When the People's Dialogue was launched, I got the opportunity to participate, voice out my concerns, and how I believe South Africans can work together towards building a better South Africa. Since then, I have made the decision that I shall not sit and watch anymore. In 2021, I will be voting to affect our lives. As the young people of South Africa, we have been ignored and sidelined by the current political system. I believe now it is the time to rise up and stand for what we believe in. It is now time to act as one against youth unemployment, gender-based violence, and for quality education. Join ActionSA now and be part of the change.
My name is Dietlof Ferreira, born and raised in Northwest Mafikeng. I hold a degree in public governance and politics from the Northwest University. I come from a very small town. I have lived to see and experience first-hand poverty, silencing and oppression of the minority within the society. It is because of these chains of events that drives exist within me to contribute to a better South Africa that I envision. I envision a South Africa that is inclusive of women, a South Africa that is inclusive of rural-based youth members, a South Africa that encompasses a diverse representation. And it is because of these reasons I have joined ActionSA. For the first time as a young person, I look forward to casting my vote, because for the first time ever, I feel confident that we have a political party that is driven by ethical leadership and not greed. It is my wish that the youth of South Africa do not deny themselves of this opportunity. ActionSA is a party of action and not words.
Thank you, Lincoln, for that speech. You know, you really can't help but just love that man so much. And to continue with our program today, we'd like to introduce Matshepo, who's going to be speaking on the really crucial topic of education in South Africa.
President Machaba, my fellow Youth Forum members, ActionSA youth supporters, a good afternoon. A quote by Erasmus reads, "The main hope of a nation lies in the proper education of its youth." Education in South Africa and around the world is recognized as a key instrument in human capital development. Little is more important to our development than equal access to quality education for all those who seek it. The right to education is captured in Section 29 of the Constitution, which states that everyone has the right to basic education, including adult basic education, to further education, which the state, through reasonable measures, must make progressively available and accessible. Despite this, access to quality education and education funding remains one of the greatest challenges faced by young South Africans today. How can we talk about the born-free generation in 2020 when young South Africans are being taught in classrooms without electricity, at schools without running water and sanitation, and by teachers held hostage by the unions? How can we talk about the born-free generation in 2020 when matriculants cannot access tertiary education because of financial exclusion? ActionSA believes that all South Africans should be able to access a quality education no matter who they are, where they live, or what they earn. We cannot deny that access to education has increased since 1994, but a greater access to education is meaningless if it cannot produce capable individuals who are able to act in a fast-changing labor market, as well as to empower young people to start their own businesses. What use is an education system that allows many individuals to fall through the cracks? A study by the Council of Higher Education, published in 2013, found that one of the many reasons students performed poorly at universities was because they weren't properly prepared by schools. The gap between the NSC pass requirements and entry requirements in universities means that many school leavers are left without options. Lowering the pass marks has achieved to produce more matriculants attaining their certificates, increasing the NCS pass rates, but has completely failed to produce capable individuals. Our education system must teach critical thinking and entrepreneurial skills that will empower young people to be active participants in the economy. We must implement skills development that allows young people to become employers rather than employees. We must empower South Africa's youth to be resilient and adaptable in a changing world and ensure that they are capable of thriving in a new economy. My fellow young South Africans, South African universities can only accommodate 18% of South African matriculants, of which 47% of those drop out. If one expands university access to include open distance learning, the number of those that can be accommodated rises to 68. It is clear that the state has failed to make tertiary education equally accessible to all those who wish to further their education. South Africa needs to prioritize building more universities, technikons, and colleges in order to make sure that everyone has equal access to quality education. Many people will ask, where will we get the money to pay for this? I ask you this. How can a government that is willing to waste millions on 74 ministers and deputy ministers to tell young people that there is no money to fund tertiary education? How can a government that wastes billions on entities like SAA tell young people that they must give up hope? South Africa may not yet be ready to offer free tertiary education yet, but this issue can be addressed with the political willpower to cut wasteful expenditure and redirect this funding towards things that actually matter, like fixing our schools and allowing matriculants to access tertiary education. My fellow young South Africans, it is undeniable that the education system of South Africa as a whole is completely flawed, and this is a crisis we cannot take lightly, given that South Africa's economic prosperity hugely relies on an educated population. The education system can be fixed, but we first need to fix the government. We need a government that cares about young people and doesn't take them for granted. ActionSA believes that quality education is key to overcoming the legacy of apartheid and healing our country from our painful past. We must act as one to provide quality education to all South Africans. We must act as one to ensure that young South Africans are equipped to be active participants in the economy. We must act as one for an education system that will give young South Africans hope for their future. Thank you.
Dumelang, Lina laka ke Katlego Mphahlele. I am from Limpopo, Mphahlele. I'm currently doing my master's in pharmacy, and I'm the 2020 SRC president of Rhodes University. But most importantly, I'm a member and volunteer of ActionSA. For the longest time, the youth of South Africa, including myself, have been too quiet on issues that affect us and our future, which is why I decided to take a stance and join ActionSA in efforts to build a better South Africa. One of the main things that encouraged me to be part of ActionSA is the commitment to push the youth agenda and the reforming of our education system that will empower young people to be critical thinkers and entrepreneurs. We need to ask ourselves these questions. What is the main purpose of our education system, and is it serving the needs of our youth and our economy? I challenge and implore young people of South Africa to take a stance and fight for your future. I invite each and every one of you to join ActionSA so we can build a better South Africa together.
At the 2019 national election, when the whole country was standing on long queues to go cast their vote, I did not see the need to do that, because all I could see across those ballot papers was the faces of the corrupt comrade, the hooliganism of the fighters, and the lawlessness of other parties and racial divisions. But on the 29th of August 2020, when a new party was born, ActionSA, I knew that new hope will be restored. A new hope was indeed restored, and I knew I had to act as one. And today I'm proud to stand here before you and say, hi, my name is Lehlohonolo Moseko, and I'm a registered voter and a South African citizen.
Greetings, South Africa. My name is Lincoln Machaba. I was born in the small rural town of Bushbuckridge on the borderlines of Limpopo and Mpumalanga. I was raised by a family that was grounded in love and in hope. And with that same love and hope, we took the faithful decision to move up to Johannesburg in search of better life opportunities. And since then, I had the opportunity to graduate from the Wits Law School with a law degree. I have a passion for South Africa. I love my country, and I want to be a part of the solution of this country. That's why I joined Action South Africa, because I believe it is the political home that young people can use to drive social change, to create economic opportunities, and reach their highest potential. Join me on this journey and let us change this country for the better.
Greetings, fellow South Africans and fellow Actioners. I go by the name of Tshepiso Modiba from a small town called Hluphi in the north of Pretoria. Well, I casted my very first vote in 2016. When I casted my vote, I casted it with the belief that young people will be placed at the center of everything. But we have seen political parties neglecting young people. Young people are being neglected in terms of leadership positions. The current education system does not accommodate our young people. Employment opportunities are not offered to our young people. Hence, I've joined ActionSA through the People's Dialogue because its agenda is to place young people at the center of everything. I believe in the vision of ActionSA. I believe it's
Thank you, Matshepo, for those insightful words about education. And now next, I will be presenting to you Sabelo, who will be touching on issues of immigration.
My fellow young South Africans, South Africa is a country, and a country has borders. Any first-year politics student knows this. As a country, we have the right and the responsibility to determine who may enter our country and how they may enter our country. As a young person, I live in a country where I am constantly reminded that there aren't enough jobs, there aren't enough places at university, and there is not enough funds to provide affordable education. If we are honest, the South African government is not able to fulfill its mandate to the South African people because of massive inequality, the legacy of our past, and corruption. And yet, millions of people come through our borders without any form of control. Our government needs to stop being a government of the world and being a government for the South African people. We face an illegal immigration crisis. We must not be ashamed or afraid to call it what it is, and we must never be silenced by people who label us because we insist on our laws being implemented. That there are violent contestations between South African and foreign traders in our neighborhoods and townships every other week or month shows that there is a crisis. But the truth is that this crisis is being fueled by our national government, which does not manage our borders, does not document people in our country, and does not deliver adequately to its own people. It's a recipe for disaster, it's a recipe for violence. I would like to be very clear about this, because we are not a xenophobic organization, as some have wrongly claimed. It is our government that is to blame for this situation, not the people who come to our country out of desperation. We have no quarrel with those who seek a better life in our country. We ourselves seek a better life in our country. While many of these people are good people, seeking refuge from tyrannical and failed governments, some are not. South Africa is now seen as a weak target by international criminal syndicates. Whether it is drug smuggling, child trafficking, or just plain criminality, people come across our borders every day undetected, many to commit crime in South Africa. They take advantage of our non-existent borders, weak criminal justice, and the South African people. Our country has some of the highest crime rates in the world. Our police are incapable of arresting criminals, and the NPA fails to put criminals in jail. We need to combat South African criminals without the added complexity of having to combat criminals from other countries. Every South African that is murdered, raped, robbed, mugged, or dealt drugs to by a person who entered into our country illegally is a crime that should not have happened, and their blood and their tears are on the hands of our government. Why is this an issue to young people of the country? It is simply about resources and safety, limited resources, and a generally inept security cluster. A government's first duty is to ensure the well-being and prosperity of its people. Its resources must benefit its people. Its people must be kept safe, and it must be able to account for everyone who is within its borders. Even on a plane, you are told that in the case of an emergency, you must ensure that you put on your own mask or vest before assisting the person next to you. A battle for resources in South Africa cannot result in South Africans drawing the short straw. South Africans must come first, and then we can support our neighbors and friends from other countries. I am proud that ActionSA and the People's Dialogue before it are at the forefront of pushing for South Africans to be put first. That other parties like the Teletubbies have come around to supporting this position is welcome. even if it is overdue. Clearly, where we have led, they are following. The simple fact is that if managing immigration is difficult enough in first world countries, how much more in the world's most unequal society? How much more in a country where billions of its resources and wealth have been looted by the governing party's cronies? Which country is now at the brink of collapse? How much more in a country which is staring at an unemployment rate of over 30%, where youth unemployment is hovering around the 60% mark? A government that is not interested in putting the interests of its people first is an unworthy government and must urgently be removed from office. Friends, you will know that Herman Machaba has a history of leading on this front, even when it has pit him against the national government. He has fought this fight and never backed down when people attacked him for insisting that our laws be implemented. As ActionSA, we offer solutions to this crisis. Chiefly, we will act as one to firstly strengthen our border security by improving the physical infrastructure protecting our sovereign borders. Secondly, we will reform the Department of Home Affairs by eradicating corruption, improving the performance of immigration officials, and modernizing immigration infrastructure. Thirdly, we will overhaul the regulations to streamline the process of legally migrating to South Africa while limiting certain categories of jobs for South African citizens and ensuring a strict but fair immigration system. Fourthly, we will attract skilled immigrants to help our economy grow with a focus on teachers, scientists, medical professionals, and entrepreneurs. Fifthly, we will relax the regulations for tourist visas, adopt an online visa on arrival system, and improve the performance of embassies in states that have a high volume of South African-bound tourists. These are just some of our solutions to this crisis. We have many more. Young people of South Africa are fast losing hope in the democratic project. But as young people leading in the organization, we are ready to act as one for the benefit of young people of our country. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Matshepo Skosana. So a little about me. My passion deeply lies within the fight against injustice, which has indirectly driven me into politics. It saddens me to see that the very same people that people have put into power to have them lifted and freed from the chains of poverty are the very same people that are keeping these people incarcerated to the chains of poverty, because we have self-serving and greedy politicians. Now, what I believe that ActionSA is my home, what I actually found admirable about them, from since when it was the People's Dialogue, was it possessed the kind of leadership that was willing to listen to the people of South Africa, work with the people of South Africa for a better South Africa. And I think that has been a long-awaited leadership by the people of South Africa who want to see change in this country. And yeah, because I think politicians seem to think that they actually understand the daily struggles of ordinary citizens, but they don't. And it was just refreshing to have the kind of leadership that was willing to hear out and work with ordinary people.
Lotshani bahlali beSouth Africa, igama lami ngingisizwe Skhosana, ngibuya kwaNdebele ngokuhlala ngihlala eTshwane. Ngingenele ihlangano ActionSA ngombana ilwa namaphandle angene eSouth Africa ngongamthetho. Begodi ithatha abantu abatsha ibabeke ngaphambili ukuze bakwazi ukuthola wonke amathuba ombereko aphumako eSouth Africa. Ibuyise nomthetho weSouth Africa ngoba abantu sebazilawula abasawulandele nomthetho weSouth Africa. Ngithokoze.
Hi everyone, my name is Velemseni from KZN. I voted in 2019, but I didn't see any change. So I believe that voting for a party that it commits itself in solving problems that affect South Africans, especially us as youth, that is a wise decision. Let us vote for change. Vote ActionSA.
How's it? My name's Dean Solomon, and let me tell you a quick story. Last year was the first time I ever voted, and I realized something devastating. There was no political party I could have chosen that would have given me what I wanted, because no political party had ever asked me what I wanted. When Machaba created the People's Dialogue, that was the first opportunity and the only opportunity I as a voter was ever asked what I wanted. And knowing the type of people that Machaba, a successful businessman, would surround himself with, I know that ActionSA is going to be a party that takes action, that actually listens to the people and implements what the people want and not their own personal agendas. And that's why ActionSA is my political alternative. Wow, I absolutely love Sabelo. That man is bold, especially with that Teletubby comment. Absolutely amazing. And to continue with our amazingness today, I'd like to introduce Katlego, who's going to be speaking about gender-based violence and women equality within South Africa.
President Machaba, my fellow Youth Forum members, ActionSA youth supporters, good afternoon. Before I can begin, may I kindly ask that we observe a moment of silence for Tsofatso Pule, Uyinene Mokgwetyana, Naledi Phangindao, and everyone who have lost their lives to gender-based violence and didn't even receive a headline. Thank you. Not a day goes by without us hearing a gender-based violence-related story in our news headline, and all too often these cases do not make the headlines. Last year in South Africa, the police recorded 42,289 rapes. This is an average of 116 rapes each day. To say that gender-based violence is a national crisis does not do justice to the countless women that suffer. We have seen many hashtags, many promises, and countless marches against gender-based violence. But these hollow words and empty actions have done little to prevent the continued victimization of women. What we don't see is decisive political leadership to effectively combat gender-based violence. As the popular saying goes, a fish rots from the head. I strongly believe that the government has to be in the forefront of tackling this issue. Although policies and legislations are put into place to address this issue of gender-based violence, the efforts are not enough, as the government is failing to implement the policies. This needs to change. How then do we begin to address this crisis? How do we build a society that respects women and the rights of the LGBTQIA+ community? Central to tackling the issue of gender-based violence is educating children from a young age to challenge gender stereotypes and respect one another. Much of our effort in South Africa has been focused on response. However, this response efforts needs to be supported and complemented by prevention initiatives. We must equip women, young women, to be more assertive of their rights and safety and introduce self-defense classes to empower young girls to defend themselves against sexual abuse and gender-based violence. Similarly, we must educate young boys to have respect for women. We must solve the problem at the source and build a society based on mutual respect. As much as we should work to address the underlying issues of gender-based violence, we also need to address the law enforcement, overhauling the SAPS training program with an improved curriculum related to handling gender-based violence. This must be coupled with the additional sensitivity training for other emergency and healthcare workers, and improved trauma and gender-based violence counseling at police stations and hospitals. We need to adopt early intervention mechanisms and provide additional funding for safe houses for women who are the victims of gender-based violence. This is central to preventing femicide, particularly in rural areas that lack the facilities and resources to adequately deal with these challenges. Lastly, we need more stringent requirements for granting of bail to alleged perpetrators of gender-based violence. We cannot continue to prioritize the rights of perpetrators over the rights of victims. My fellow young South Africans, solving the problem of gender-based violence and gender inequality requires a whole society approach. All South Africans need to stand together to fight this scourge. We can also solve this problem if we work together, act as one against all forms of gender-based violence and gender inequality. Institutions of higher learning, civil society organizations, community members, private businesses, and the government all need to play their part in ending this crisis. We must act as one against all forms of discrimination. We must act as one against prejudice and injustice. We must act as one for an equal and just society. I thank you.
Hello, I'm Sthembelo Majola. I'm 22 years old and I'm a student at the University of Johannesburg. Like myself, many young people in this country are concerned about the surging unemployment rate in this country. We are concerned about our prospects of finding employment. With the president that comes out and says this thing, and a treasury that comes out and says the other thing, it is clear to me and many young people that this government doesn't have a turnaround strategy on this economy. This is why I have decided to vote differently in these upcoming elections. And I'd like to urge you to vote differently. I will place my vote for Action South Africa. I'd like for you to do the same too. And I don't just want you to do that. I want you to go out and interrogate policies of ActionSA. Go to www.actionsa.org.za and read about the policies that they have put up. I will be voting differently this election, and I want you to do the same too. If we do not air our dissatisfaction, nothing is going to change. Thank you.
Hello, South Africa. My name is Thabo Malosi. I was born and bred in a very small, tiny, and dusty village in a town called Matatela, the most diverse town, the home of Hluphi, Maxhosa, and Basotho. Now, I'm here to invite young people, anyway, to join ActionSA as we're taking the direction of saving the country from the highness, from exile, leading the ANC in South Africa. I realized that young people are excluded in politics of the country, young people are excluded in the economy of the country. And now I want to invite young people and say, let's unite, let's claim our country back from the highness. The struggle was never about the ANC, and the struggle will never be about the ANC. The struggle was about the people, and it should continue like that from one generation to another generation. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Trudy Mthombeni and I am a member of ActionSA. So the reason I decided to join ActionSA is because of the values that they are pushing. Because I feel like those values are what South Africa needs. Quality education, electoral reform, business equality and good business structures, as well as really like rule of law, pushing like good justice systems. And I always told myself I would never vote for a political party because it is just a continuous repetitive thing. But you know what? I feel like ActionSA is what South Africa really needs right now. And this is what I am doing, is voting for ActionSA, because you know what? Him and Machaba and ActionSA is what South Africa needs. So come together and let us be one and act as one, because you know what? We can and we will.
Hello, my name is Sabelo Chalufu. I do research and political analysis. I have a legal background and 9 years professional experience in local government as well as the criminal justice sector. My qualifications include those in communications as well as finance, and I am currently registered to vote. And in fact, I've voted in a few of the last elections, including Machaba 2016.
Thank you so much, Katlego. You have just touched on the most important issue that we are faced with in South Africa. Thank you to everybody who has joined us today. To the speakers, thank you so much. You have given us so much insightful information that I'm sure each and every one of here will take it home. Next, I've got the privilege of introducing the man himself, Mr. Herman Machaba, the president of ActionSA.
Good morning, Sanbonani, Dumelang, Huemore, Molweni, Afsheni, Nda, members of the media, my fellow South Africans, and most importantly, young South Africans, I greet you all. Our democracy has not been kind to you, the youth of our country, South Africa. Young people face the highest levels of unemployment in our country. The future of young people are being destroyed by an education system that rivals the evil Bantu education system of HF Verwoerd. To the vast majority of young people, higher education and training is a pipe dream for those who will never get a chance to go to university or technikon. Many who are fortunate enough to access tertiary education struggle under the weight of debt. Young people are the greatest victims of the drugs that pour through our non-existent borders and into our country. How then do we expect our youth to compete with illegal foreigners for jobs that they can do themselves? Jobs that may be general to help them go through while looking for a better employment opportunities. For this, our dysfunctional Department of Home Affairs must be made to account. Young people, and especially our young women, live with the greatest fear of being the next victim of gender-based violence. If we are honest with ourselves, our political system has failed our young South Africans. Look at the so-called youth structures of political parties. Look at how politicians have reacted to the plight of young people with broken promises to score a quick vote. Look at how political parties use young people as window dressing to obscure the fact that the power in South Africa rests with those that should have retired already. What is truly amazing is that young people make up the majority of our people in our country. There are 30 million South Africans under the age of 35 in a country of just under 60 million people. You are the majority of our population and just 6% of our parliament. ActionSA is committed to changing this. We want ActionSA to be the home for the young people of our country. Our Senate has already resolved that we must offer young people a political home and that we must establish youth structures that will become the heart and the conscience of our party. We are here today to live up to that commitment, to reveal to South Africa the young people who will partner with us for ActionSA to offer a new political alternative to the youth of our country. We have established a National Youth Advisory Council that will guide our engagement with the youth of our country. You see then here before representing the diversity of our country. Many of these young people have never been involved in politics before. This is something that we celebrate because the youth of our country need fresh thinking. The personal stories of these great young South Africans are moving. They represent the challenges faced by the youth of our country. Yet, they are here, committing themselves to the counterparts who have lost hope. They will be an integral part in our quest to drive a vision of hope for a better, more prosperous South Africa for all the youth who are the future of our country. We are proud to announce 3 of these young people: Hluphi, Precious, Gafane, Dean Solomon, and Thabo Malosi, who will serve on our Senate, the highest decision-making body, to ensure that the voice of our youth is strongly represented. We have an enormous task ahead of us. We need to offer hope to young people who have been forgotten. We need to offer the solutions that will be required to combat youth unemployment. We need to offer the plans to build more universities and make tertiary education attainable and not just political rhetoric for every young South African. Today, I stand before you to call upon young South Africans, black and white, Indian and colored. I call upon all young South Africans in the dusty villages and the bustling cities of our country. I call upon those living in townships and suburbs, studying at universities and technicons, with jobs and without jobs, to come forward, living with and without disability, heterosexual, or those who identify as LGBTQs across the length and breadth of South Africa. Let us act as one to elevate their voices in our communities and our politics. Let us act as one for them to have a better chance of becoming future entrepreneurs, business or political leaders, professionals, doctors, nurses, teachers, and public servants, instead of falling into crime because of lack of viable opportunities to thrive. Let us act as one so that one day, very soon, the children of El Dorado Park, Khayelitsha, Phoenix, KwaMashu, Seshego, Winterveld, Alexander, through their hard work, have the same chance of success as the children of Sandton, Constantia, Kens Bay, and Durban North. Let us act as one for them to inherit a country which hates less, loves more, works harder, and thrives together as one. Thank you.
Thank you for the incredible words, Mr. Machaba. A president like you can only be found once in a millennia. And what did you think about today?
That was really interesting, Dean. I mean, it's amazing to be part of this. As a young person myself, I'm truly honored to be part of this organization. For the first time as a young person, I feel like I have a voice. I feel like I'm being represented and somebody's actually listening. So honestly, it's an amazing feeling to be part of this.
You know, I 100% agree with you, Botumelo. Like, have you ever been asked by a political party what you really believe?
Not even once, not even once. So Dean, the real work starts now with you and I. It's up to you if you deny yourself the opportunity or you come right with us.
So from me and Botumelo and the rest of the forum, we'd like to say goodbye.
Goodbye.